Winning Blueprint presents.
In the lab room.
Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. It's Friday. I just quickly want to get into my picks for the opening weekend of the playoffs. Wild card weekend is embarking upon us here quickly. It's Friday. This means we'll have football on Saturday. Tomorrow, our playoffs will begin for the 2012-2013 season. And there's some interesting matchups. Coming up at us first at 4:30 on Saturday afternoon on NBC will be the 6-3 matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals, the 6th seed in the AFC, and the 3 seed Houston Texans, who will be hosting a home playoff game for the second consecutive season. And they shouldn't be playing on Wild Card Weekend. They should be off on a bye week. They've played well enough all season long to deserve a bye, but they've played so poorly down the stretch, losing 3 out of 4, that they not only lost home field throughout in the AFC, which means they relinquished the first overall seed in the AFC playoffs, which they had a firm grasp of for the whole entire season. But they not only lost that, they lost the ability to have a first-round bye. They're not the first or the second seed, so they don't get a bye. Now they have to play, and they have to play the Cincinnati Bengals. And I had already said on this program that had they lost that first round bye and that first overall seed, they weren't going to win this game. And I'm sticking by that. They're not going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. The only thing that worries me about the Bengals in this game is their offense. This offense is skittish. Sometimes A.J. Green and the Red Rifle are on the money. Andy Dalton and A.J. Green, when they're in sync, they make beautiful music together. But when those two aren't on the same page and they don't get others involved, they need to get Andrew Hawkins the football more. They need to get others involved, but that's the only thing that worries me. This defense doesn't concern me. I think that the Bengals defensively are going to get after Arian Foster. I think they're going to get after Matt Schaub after they slow that running game down. We know what the Texans are. They are a run-heavy football team. They're run-dominant. They need to run the football in order to be successful, and I think the Bengals know that. They're going to stop the run. They're going to get pressure on Matt Schaub, force him into some mistakes, force him into a turnover or two, and they're going to win this football game. I just don't see Houston being able to overcome all the adversity that they had down the stretch, forcing them to play on Wild Card Weekend and really feeling like they have a chip on their shoulder. They might win this game because Houston really is the better team. They really are the better team in this game, but I tell you what, there's a psychological factor that goes into this game if you're Houston, because you felt like you were on top all year long, and now all of a sudden you're just an ordinary team in the AFC. You're no longer a team that has a lot of momentum, a team that is one of the best in the AFC. You're just a regular team now because you're playing on Wild Card Weekend. And so I just think that the Texans are going to struggle in this game. It's going to be close because, again, the Bengals are not a team that is going to overpower you with their offense. At times, this team can be an offensive juggernaut, and others, this team can barely score 17 points. So I don't know which Cincinnati Bengals team is going to show up, but whatever team does decide to show up, it'll be enough to beat the Texans. I have the Cincinnati Bengals winning this game 20-17 over the Houston Texans, getting this win and moving on into the divisional round of the playoffs. The second game up on the slate features the Green Bay Packers hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Also, this is a 6-3 matchup, but this is the NFC 6-3 matchup, which sees the 3 seed Green Bay Packers hosting the 6 seed Minnesota Vikings. It's family business, and we know what that means. This is going to be a close game. The only thing that scares me, and I haven't heard anything about this all week long, I'm just now getting wind of it, But I haven't heard anything about it. This is news to me. I had no idea that there was anything wrong with Christian Ponder, but apparently he hasn't practiced all week. That's concerning to me because why wouldn't he be practicing? And so I'm hearing that he's got some kind of elbow soreness or tenderness, and he might not be able to play. That's asinine. That's crazy to me. I can't believe that the Vikings have come this far, and they may be without their starting quarterback. And look, I give Christian Ponder a lot of grief, and sometimes unjustly so. I'm hard on him because the Vikings picked him so early in the draft, and this team could be so much better if he's more consistent. And he's still a young quarterback. I have to keep that in mind. This guy is a young quarterback. I'm really hard on him. But if he doesn't play in this game, the Vikings don't have a shot. Because then you'll be relying on the services of one Joe Webb. And trust me, if you're a Vikings fan, you don't want that. And I will say this once, and I won't say it again. I don't like beating dead horses. You never know what you've got until it's gone. And I'm one for taking things for granted. I take quarterbacks for granted, especially ones that I don't think aren't that good. And Christian Ponder right now is in that not so good category for me. But I tell you one thing, if he doesn't play, you'll see the value of Christian Ponder very quickly. But it doesn't matter whether Christian Ponder plays or not, whether it's Joe Webb or it's Christian Ponder. The Vikings aren't winning this game. And it's as simple as that. The Packers are going to win. They're at home. They're the better team. I don't know what Adrian Peterson is going to do in this game. It's going to make a big difference if Christian Ponder is able to play, because at least the threat of them being able to throw the ball will be present. If Joe Webb has to play, they know that he's not throwing the football anywhere. And so then they can really commit fully to stopping the run and not have to worry about getting beat over the top, not have to worry about giving up chunks of yardage through the air. They can just saddle in on the run game, focus in on that, stop Adrian Peterson from getting off and breaking loose and breaking off 70 and 80-yard runs, and really just focus in on stopping him from beating them as a one-man game. And so, despite whatever occurs at the quarterback position for the Minnesota Vikings, the Packers are getting healthier. They've got a full complement of receivers back. Charles Woodson is back. The Vikings aren't equipped with enough firepower to beat this Packers team in Green Bay. The Packers are going to win this game. I think it's going to be a close game if Christian Ponder plays. If he doesn't, Joe Webb and company, I don't think they'll be able to keep it close enough, because I don't think the Vikings can score enough points with Joe Webb at quarterback. Whatever the case may be, the Packers are going to win this game. If Joe Webb plays, the score will be something like 27-17. If Christian Ponder plays, it'll be more along the lines of 24-20. There you have it. So we move on to Sunday, and the Sunday games look like this. At 1 p.m., we're getting the AFC version of the 4-5 matchup, which sees the Baltimore Ravens hosting the Indianapolis Colts. So we've already found out this week that this could be it for our brother Ray Lewis. And so this is a big game. This could potentially be his final home game. If Cincinnati isn't able to beat Houston, then there will be no more home games for Ray Lewis in Baltimore. If the Bengals are able to win, then there's still a possibility that the Ravens could play at home once more. But the Texans would have to lose in order for that to happen, and I think they will. But if the Texans win, this is it. So Ray Lewis could potentially be playing his final home game against these Indianapolis Colts. It's going to be an emotional game for them, because we all know what Ray Lewis means to that franchise. We all know what Ray Lewis has meant to the NFL. And so it's going to be a bittersweet. Again, I've already said this when I found out the news that he was retiring. It's bittersweet because you love watching him play the game of football. But rest assured, whatever occurs, he's not going away. He'll be in your face on someone's network talking to you every single week. So you don't have to worry about that. Rest assured, you will get your fix of Ray Lewis. That is to be certain. But in this game, I've already come out and said that if you're a team in the AFC this Colts team is who you want. Now, be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. And I could be setting the Baltimore Ravens up for the ultimate disappointment of losing your first game out of the gates in the playoffs. Because this Colts team is a lot better than I think a lot of people, including myself, give them credit for. However, they're not at home. They're a dangerous home team. They've got some quality wins at home. They beat Minnesota. They beat Green Bay at home. They got some quality wins. They beat Houston at home. They've got some quality wins at home. You take them out of home, though. You take them and put them on the road. There's not a lot of quality wins for the Indianapolis Colts. And they've really been soundly beaten on the road several times this season. And so I just don't see them going into Baltimore and getting a win. Baltimore and the Colts. Isn't this crazy how these two teams find their way to play each other? This is the second time that I can remember. I remember one time Peyton Manning took the Colts into Baltimore to face the Ravens and beat them. But all those memories will be back. They'll talk about Art Modell packing the team up and moving. Of course, we'll have to hear about that. We'll probably see the Mayflower truck at some point while we're watching this game. Doesn't matter. All of those things are irrelevant. The Ravens are going to win this game because I feel like the Ravens are at home. I feel like the Ravens are the better team. And Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, don't forget about Ed. I think they're a package deal. If Ray goes, so does Ed. And so this is probably the last home game for both of these guys. And I told you, once those two leave, you're ushering out that era of Baltimore Ravens football, that dominant era of Baltimore Ravens football that saw this defense be a really dominant defense for over a decade. We've seen this demise start in the 2012 season. This defense was nowhere near at the level that it's been in the past 10, 15 years. So we started to see the demise of this defense, and I think it's going to come full circle after Ray Lewis and Ed Reed hang it up. So this could potentially be it. I don't see how the Ravens don't win this one just because, A, they want to win, but B, they want to win this one for Ray. And I can't see them not coming out and playing with that sense of urgency to get this win. Ravens, 26. Colts, 17. So we go to the last game of Wild Card Weekend and save the best for last. That's what I was always told. That's what they've done here. They've saved the best game for last. And at 4:30, the Washington Redskins will be hosting the Seattle Seahawks. This is the 4-5 matchup in the NFC side of the bracket. Now, the Seahawks come into this game playing some of the most dominant football of any team in the postseason of late, especially in the NFC. The Redskins are riding a 7-game winning streak here. But all anyone wants to talk about is the Seattle Seahawks and how dominant of a team they could be and how they could be this year's Giants or this year's Packers that are a wild card that is on the road winning football games and potentially going to the Super Bowl. Everyone's bypassing the Redskins as an option here, and they're just going straight to the Seattle Seahawks. The Redskins are underdogs in this game. They're not expected to win by many accounts, but I don't see what everyone else sees in this Seattle Seahawks team. Yes, they're a good team. Yes, they run the football well. Yes, they have a very good rookie quarterback. Yes, they play some really good defense. However, all of those things are magnified when they're at home. Well, guess what? They're not at home in this game. And so the Seahawks have to show me that they can take their act on the road. You beat Chicago on the road, did the Seattle Seahawks, and that was a very big win. I thought that win changed their season around. That changed their fortunes. That win single-handedly catapulted this Seattle Seahawks team from a borderline contender to an absolute contender. And you knew that they were going to make a run into the postseason once they beat the Chicago Bears on the road. But make no mistake about it, the Seahawks have struggled on the road. And because you beat Buffalo in Canada doesn't mean you're a good road team. I need to see it. They have to make a believer out of me. I'm not sold on the Seahawks on the road. And it's a combination of me believing in the Redskins because of this 7-game winning streak, because I know that the Redskins can get it done, and a combination of me not believing in the Seahawks on the road. So I need to be won over. Make me a believer, because right now I'm not believing that the Seahawks can go on the road and beat a good Redskins football team. It's okay to go on the road and beat up on the Buffalo Bills, but the Redskins aren't the Buffalo Bills. And so I need proof that the Seahawks are as good as everyone is telling me that they are. Because I've watched the Seahawks all season long, and the Seahawks that I've seen on the road and the Seahawks that I've seen at home, two different teams. So I'm going with the Redskins here. And I've already stated that on the Redskins report. But just in case you didn't check that out, I'll tell you again. Redskins 24, Seahawks 20. Redskins get the win, move on to the divisional round of the playoffs. So my picks look like this. Saturday, Cincinnati over Houston. 6 seed gets the upset win. In that nightcap, Green Bay over the Minnesota Vikings. The home team holds serve here as family business is carried out once and for all in that matchup. You go to Sunday, my third pick of the weekend. Baltimore gets it done at home in what could be Ray Lewis and Ed Reed's career finale at home in Baltimore as the Ravens take care of the 5-seed Indianapolis Colts and move on to the next round of the postseason to take on potentially the Denver Broncos or the New England Patriots, depending on what happens in that matchup on Saturday between Cincinnati and Houston. If I'm correct and Cincinnati pulls off the win, then Baltimore would be traveling to take on the New England Patriots in the second round of the postseason. And on the afternoon wrap-up for the weekend of Wild Card Weekend, I have the Redskins taking care of business against a team that no one thinks they can win against in the Seattle Seahawks. Redskins win the game 24-20, get the win, and I hopefully will wrap up my weekend at a perfect, crystal clear 4-0. Now, something always goes awry on Wild Card Weekend for me. Every year, I seem to finish up the weekend 3-1 for some reason. I lose some game, someone that I didn't see winning wins, and I finish up at 3-1. Let's hope I can find a way to escape that bug this week and go a perfect 4-0 to start off this postseason and really have my brackets in good shape. So we'll see what occurs. On this weekend, it's going to be fun. This is the best time of year, Wild Card Weekend. You get 4 games this week. You get 4 games next week. You can't really ask for it much better than this. Enjoy the games. We'll come back. And at the end of this episode, I'll upload what I've been able to do in the Pick'em Weekly all season long. My last time updating it because, again, the season's over. The regular season is done. So you'll see what my final tally was, and we'll move into the postseason. So I thank you for joining me. Enjoy the football on Sunday. You know the ways to contact the show. There's Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. There's Twitter. At In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. And there's also YouTube. Louis T is the page. Subscribe. And also there's the inbox, inthelabroom@gmail.com. Many ways to view the show, contact the show. I thank you for joining me. Want to see you back here. Same time, same place. And as always, enjoy the football. It's going to be great. Saddle up. Enjoy the ride because it's going to be over soon. You know how I feel about that. So just enjoy this. Bask in it because it's here today. It'll be gone tomorrow. It'll be gone before you know it. So enjoy this football. We'll come back. We'll talk about it on Monday. And we'll talk about all the happenings of the weekend because you know some coaches are going to be hired over the weekend. Some GMs are going to be hired. Some vacancies are going to be filled because who doesn't like to talk on the weekends? That's when things get done. Things get done on the weekend. So we'll be back on Monday to really wrap up and put a bow on everything that occurred on the weekend, whether it's a coach being hired, a coach being fired, a GM being hired, or just talking about the games and the results of these games and seeing who won, who lost, and what these matchups will look like going into the divisional round of the postseason. So I'll see you next week here on the program. Have a good one.
In the